Hey everybody, welcome to the Criterion 40. I am Joe from Create Context, and today we're talking about the film Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher, the 1999 film from Lynn Ramsey, is a perfect example of filmmaking in the 90s. The 90s were an incredible time for movies and for filmmakers. Talked about it a little bit earlier, but after the Hays Code was abolished in the 1960s, American cinema went through kind of a resurgence in the 70s with incredible filmmakers finally being able to tell masterful stories without any limitations. This kind of started with Easy Rider, but during the 70s, we got these incredible films like The Godfather, Deliverance, and Dog Day Afternoon. A new class of up-and-coming filmmakers would make their mark in the 70s with these classic films that would stand for generations. But something also happened to American cinema in the 70s. Movies like Jaws and Star Wars would become huge box office successes, leading to studios to push for more and more blockbuster films. The 90s, however, similar to the 70s, ushered in a new era for filmmaking and for young filmmakers. Young filmmakers who grew up on that great cinema of the 70s were now making their own movies. The cost of filmmaking had gone down relatively so, at least for smaller projects. And new filmmakers and studios alike, like Miramax, were willing to take risks. Out of this trend came some fresh, interesting new directors with unique projects that looked like nothing we'd seen before. This is how movies like Clerks and Slacker were able to become successful with little to no money attached. However, the industry then and still now was solely based on the studio system. You could make your own movie for relatively cheap. Kevin Smith made Clerks for like $30,000, but without a studio picking you up, there was nowhere for that film to go. It left the industry in a sort of purgatory, where filmmakers could potentially finance their own movies, but they needed the studio system to get their movie in front of a big audience. Lynn Ramsey made her feature film debut with Ratcatcher in 1999, a film that was primarily funded by the BBC. She had a few shorts under her belt at the time, but nothing that would secure her the kind of financing she would need for a feature film. Working with the BBC allowed her immense creative control and in turn made her debut film a masterpiece of minimalism and dreamlike grandeur. Ratcatcher follows the story of James, a young boy living in the Glasgow projects during the 1970s sanitation workers' strike. James and his family are waiting for reassignment to a better project, as the building they currently live in is dilapidated and falling over. The squalor of their living situation is only compounded by the sanitation strike, with bags of trash piling up in front of their building. This whole film feels a bit like purgatory for James. He, like everyone else in the building, is just waiting for a better place. Some of the homes in this building don't have running water or working toilets, but there's nothing they can do but wait in their condition until a better life is given to them. The film starts with James accidentally killing Ryan Quinn in this canal behind their house. James feels immense guilt over this interaction, and it informs his decisions for the rest of the movie. It's clear James is trying to be better by befriending the outcasts around him, but it also feels impossible for him to escape the guilt of this film's tragic opening. Throughout the movie, James interacts with socially awkward kids like Kenny and Margaret Ann. Kenny is a bit strange, possibly on the spectrum, and is often mocked by the other kids around him. Margaret Ann, she's a little bit older than James, and she's forced to endure near constant sexual abuse from the other boys in the neighborhood. James, though, either being too young or too sweet, does not abuse her even when given the chance. A pivotal scene early on in the film shows Margaret Ann being abused by several boys while James is asked to keep looking out a window for her mom to come home. This film is interesting because Lynn never shows any graphic detail in this scene and instead frames the whole scene as a loss of innocence rather than like an exploitive one. It's a stark contrast to another film from the 90s, Kids, 1995's film by Larry Clark. Lynn often deals with traumatic experiences in her work, but she does so with grace and artistry that it never comes off as exploitative. A later scene in this movie starkly contrasts this first one by being both a little more graphic and even more innocent. James comes to visit Margaret Ann in her home, and he helps her remove some lice from her head. This is a big problem in their building. The two of them then share a bath together, and while there is some on-screen nudity, it is never sexualized, and it actually enhances the story. Lynn is showing the innocence of these two children. Even though Margaret Ann is a bit older, she's still a kid. The two are given a brief respite from the abuses they face on a daily basis just to be kids, to be innocent together, to enjoy each other's company without fear of sexualization or abuse. It's a beautiful scene, and one that truthfully could only be handled by a director as talented as Ramsey. The final act of this film is one that most scholars and critics disagree on. Maybe not disagree, but everyone has an opinion on their reading and interpretation of the ending. Much like the film being there, Ratcatcher ends on an ambiguous note. After the trash is cleaned up, James returns to the canal where he accidentally killed his friend Ryan, and he jumps in. The film then cuts to James and his family all moving into a nice new house with a giant field out back. The exact type of home James has been dreaming of throughout the movie. As James walks up to the house, we see him do something he hasn't done for the entire film. He smiles. The film then cuts back to his body in the canal while the credits roll. Some critics choose to take this ending literally, that James, out of guilt, chose to take his own life in the same place where he ended Ryan's. Others choose to see this more as a metaphorical ending. James may not physically die, but he uses this moment to fantasize about a better life, one that he may never have. And while I think both readings are valid and the film actually lends credence to both of these endings, the one that I have is maybe a little more cynical, but also sort of incorporates both ideas. The entire film, Ratcatcher, feels like this gruesome view of purgatory, one where nothing gets better, there is still pain, and everyone is just waiting for a better life to befall them. James throwing himself into the river is probably him ending his life, but it is also him baptizing himself. This film is filled with imagery of water and washing oneself clean, and that's what I think James is trying to do. In the vision he sees while drowning, the beautiful house where everyone will be happy, that's the heaven that's waiting for him after purgatory. A heaven that unfortunately never could have existed for him in this world. Ratcatcher is an amazing film, and one of my favorite movies that I've watched from this project. I'm a huge fan of Lynn Ramsey. Her film, We Need to Talk About Kevin, is one of the most haunting movies I've ever seen, and it shines a light on a dark place in a way that we rarely see. She did the same thing here with her debut, and it's a standout film that deserves all of the praise. We may rarely get films from Lynn Ramsey, but each one is truly a gift to cinema. Thank you guys so much for watching the Criterion 40. We'll be back next week and on Friday with a weekly movie minute. If you like this, give us a subscribe. That would be super cool, and I'll see you guys next time. The Criterion 40 is a Create Context podcast. Head over to createcontext.com for more film, reviews, and analysis. Our theme song is Hindsight by Shiloh, provided by the Riot Games Creator Safe playlist. We drop new episodes every Tuesday at 8 a.m.